number one you don't want to make in calisthenics is not having a consistent setup. So this goes for any skill you're learning. So handstands, handstand push-up, front lever, back lever, planche even. It goes for all these skills. You don't want to have your parallettes at different widths or your pull-up bar different heights. You want to keep these things the same. So if you're having those weaker days and stronger days, this could be the reason why. So for the planche, for me, this is my setup. So I take my parallettes, I go shoulder width or just outside shoulder width, and then I place my hands the same spot every time on my parallettes. I then go hips down, I thrust my hips down, then I protract last, and then I lean and go into my attempt. I always do it that way around every time, and that helps me keep everything consistent. I also try and do the same entries every time. So I just keep training the same entry over a period of time. Once I'm used to that entry, I'll go on to a different entry, and different entries help you with different form. I find that leaning into it helps with form, while, you know, some raising a leg into a planche also helps with combinations. I find there's different uses, and this can change for you, but these are going to be tips to help you keep more consistent, and it's going to stop you having those weaker days, stronger days, and help you have pretty much just strong, consistent days of training.
Okay, jacked athletes, so the next mistake you guys are making is not tracking your progress. Keeping a progress log is very important, as it is a literal representation of how you've progressed from the beginning. And it's a good way to say, okay, this is how I've progressed from the start. So these are the exercises I should be doing and the skills I should be training for right now. Without a training log, it really just becomes a lot of guesswork. The other thing that's great about a training log is that you can literally see how you have progressed over time, and you know that each day you're getting better, and this can be something that's very motivating and can keep you going. And the other thing when it comes to motivation and training logs is that if you have a period where you're going through maybe a week or two of just a bunch of bad workouts and you feel demotivated, like quitting, one thing that you can do is look back at your training log and see that what you are considering a weekday now actually would have been a strong day months ago, and that can be motivating and keep you moving forward. So training logs are very important. And also, it does not have to be like something that you wrote down with a pencil and paper in a notebook. No, it can be videos, which honestly I think are the best way to keep a training log, is just film all your sets and stuff, save them on your computer or phone or wherever you save your files, and then over time just watch back the old videos and see how much worse they are than your current ones. Another good log would be like an Instagram account or saving your stories. So even then you can just look back. Anything that keeps a record of what you're doing is fine for a training log. It does not necessarily have to be pen and paper, word for word, sets and reps and all that stuff, but that can obviously be a good option too.
The third mistake you don't want to make in calisthenics is not priming your body for the skill you're about to do in your warm-up. You wouldn't just start on 100 kg and, you know, set off and go. You would work up to it and prime your body for these working sets. It's the same thing in calisthenics. It's not different, and it's going to get you more efficient. Doing this, you're going to get more out of your workout and potentially hold those few seconds longer and hit a few new PR. The iron cross is a great example. A lot of people want to learn the iron cross, but it's a long skill journey and you have to be very careful because it has a high injury risk. So I would say just start now with working on your ring dips and then Bulgarian ring dips. These are places where a lot of beginners or intermediates can start learning these two skills, and it's gonna really help when they come to learn the iron cross. They're already gonna have built that foundation. But if you wait too long until you're advanced and then you wanna start learning the iron cross, well, you've wasted some time. Now you have to work on that conditioning that takes months and weeks to actually build up the conditioning for the iron cross, when you could have worked on that as you were an intermediate or beginner. So if you're intermediate or beginner now, start working on the conditioning for the skills you want in the future.
So, Suki no Machigai is not learning how your body responds to training. Now, when you're a beginner, of course, you're not gonna have any concept really of how your body responds to training. Well, because you're a beginner. But over time, as you gain more experience, you're gonna start to learn how your body responds to certain skills and exercises. And this is why it's very important to keep a training log, like I was talking about earlier, because with the training log, you're gonna know exactly what happened during these previous sessions, and you can see how you're recovering from certain skills. So I'm gonna share a quick example with you guys. Let's say one day, it's Wednesday, and your planche is just amazing. You're setting a bunch of PRs. It's a really good day. And then you train 2 days later on Friday, also training planche. And that basically just means that you didn't recover very well from the planche session on Wednesday. So as you start to identify more patterns, what you can do is start setting up your trainings based on patterns that you find. So as you get more advanced, your training is going to be a lot more accurate. You're going to find that you're recovering better, and sessions are just going to start going better because you understand how your body responds to training. And that's just one example for me. It's like sometimes, like, I have 3 days in a row of really, really good planche sessions, but then after that, it's not super good. So all the patterns are going to depend on the person, which is why it's just good to train for yourself, keep a log, and just gain experience over time so you can learn how your body responds to training.
The fifth mistake you don't want to make in calisthenics is not training a skill you're actually ready for. So I know a lot of people, they'll come up to me and be like,
when should I train this skill? When should I train this skill?
And usually I'll say just start. And I don't mean just throw yourself in the deep end and just try the skill, do a max attempt. I don't mean that. I mean start. There's somewhere on that skill journey that's going to be the right place to start for you. Whether that is basics, usually people have got their basics down. I'd say a good place to start is, 30 push-ups, 20 dips, 15 pull-ups. That's a great place to start learning your skills. Once you're past that point, I'd say there's going to be somewhere you can start working on the technique and the fundamental movements, the scapular activation. I would start there and then work your way up. So usually if someone says, yeah, I'm learning the back lever, but I'm only working on my push-ups, I don't understand why. Just start training the skill, because really in calisthenics, it's all about specificity. Strength training is all about specificity, and learning skills is a lot about balance and strength. So we need to train specifically for that skill by actually doing it. The earlier you do that, the faster you'll get the skill, and that could be the reason why you haven't got some of the skills you want yet. It's because you haven't actually started training. So start now, but where you're at, don't rush, don't throw yourself in the deep end, but you'll probably be able to do a lot more than you think.
Okay, and the next mistake that you guys are making is not training harder than last time. And this is, in my opinion, the number one reason why people do not progress with skills at the rate that they want to. Now, I've actually touched on this in a past video, but there's too many people that stay in their comfort zone for way too long, and then they wonder why they don't make any progress. And I just want to give everybody a friendly reminder that training skills is not easy. It should feel hard, and you should be failing attempts regularly and also doing skills with bad form. I'm not saying go do every set with bad form, but at least for a couple of sets, because what bad form means, right, is that the skill is very intense and hard for you, and over time it will improve. You just got to keep doing it. And that can be one thing that's really motivating for me, at least. Like, especially like when I was learning Pelican, I was always really excited because I started and the form was obviously terrible, but over time, like each week, it literally just got better, and I was always motivated to be like, okay, now I'm gonna do it with good form. And then I finally did it, and I was really happy. So always like just pushing yourself to try that harder skill, to improve your form in a certain skill. Training harder than last time is something that can be extremely motivating.
The seventh mistake you don't want to make in calisthenics is not understanding the skill you're training. So some people hop straight into training a skill without understanding how the skill actually works. But this will go fine sometimes, but then they get stuck. And this is where they get stuck for months by not fully understanding the skill they're training. So you want to understand the things about the movement, such as the mental cues, the grip, the movement pattern, the activation. All these things go into learning the skill, and you want to learn these before you start training the skill so you don't run into any issues. So one way, if you don't know what is the correct mental cues or grip for a certain skill, one way to do it is to ask the community. So you can do this on the Jack Calisthenics Discord, join down below and go into the training clips, whatever section, find the right channel for it, questions if you're just asking a question, post your clip in there and people will be there to help you. I'm in there as well. Send me a DM there if you want as well. If not, the second way is to analyze the people that you trust at a higher level than you. So for example, me or the Barkage, you can have a look at our clips. How do we have the grip for certain moves that you're also learning? The muscle up, the planche, the back lever. When you're learning these skills, try and analyze the higher level athletes, and over time, try and get the grip close to them. Try and get the activation close to them. Most likely, these people are going to have the correct activation and doing things that are optimal for them for the skill. So just apply this to yourself, and most likely you'll find out what's optimal for you as well, and you'll understand a lot more about the skill if you do a little bit of research first. So that's one way and one mistake you don't want to make, which is not understanding a skill before you train it.
All right, guys, the next mistake that you guys are making is not learning how to breathe during skills. Now, breathing is obviously very important as it supplies your muscles with oxygen while you're doing the skill and will thus help you perform better. Now, we have dynamic moves and have our static skills. So during dynamic skills like planche push-ups, front lever pull-ups, Hefesto, yada, 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 what I do is during the eccentric contraction, as I'm going down, I breathe in through my nose, and then when I'm ready for the concentric contraction, I exhale and explode. This is what I found to be the most powerful for me when I'm doing these skills. And I also find, like, if I'm doing like a really high rep set of something like front lever pull-ups, focusing on the breathing is something that really keeps me in rhythm during the skill. And it's definitely something that you guys should practice and focus on while you're doing your skills. And now, of course, there is breathing during long static holds. And for that, I do a very similar thing. I breathe in through my nose and out through my mouth. And I just try to make sure they're constant breaths. I really try to be conscious of not breathing in and out too fast, because when you're doing a long hold and you start breathing in and out too quickly, what's going to happen is you're just going to tire yourself out. So during a long hold, the most important thing is to keep it nice and just constant, basically. And then there is also nasal breathing, where you're just going in and out through your nose. Personally, I find for me that doesn't work as well, but for you, that might work pretty well, so definitely give it a shot.
The 9th mistake you don't want to make in calisthenics is not doing drop sets or supersets. Now, drop sets is the main one because I find a lot of people have the question, how do I increase my hold time for static skills? So one of the big ways to do this, and a great method, is by doing drop sets. So drop sets is making a movement mechanically easier so you can increase the time under tension. So let's take the front lever, for example. You hold an unassisted front lever for 2 seconds, and then you get a light band and you hold it for an extra 7 seconds. This is increasing your time under tension. You're still holding the same progression, you've got the same technique, and you get better at the technique, you get more time under tension, and it's still hard because you're pre-fatigued from that unassisted hold. It's a great method for increasing your hold time. So most likely when you come back the next week to hold your front lever, most likely you're gonna feel stronger at it because you got that time under tension from the previous sessions the previous week. That's one method to increase your hold time. Another method for the drop sets that works is by going down the progression. So let's say you're holding the front lever again, unassisted, you then tuck a leg in. So you're in the single leg progression. And then when you get too tired and you start dropping, you go to advanced tuck. This is a great way to increase the time under tension. And again, what would happen over time, you want to be in that full front lever a little bit longer before you go to the single leg, and you keep doing this. And it will be a great method to increase your hold time. And supersets is a great time saver. You can work on push and pull at the same time in the same session. So you get more sets in per week, and that means you're going to progress faster. So if you haven't tried doing supersets or training push and pull on the same day, a lot of high-level athletes do this, and it's a great way to save time and to get better progression faster. And the 10th mistake you don't want to make in calisthenics is not watching this video, which is part 2 to this video, which is on the Barkage channel now, and it's live. So go watch it right now to find out the other mistakes you don't want to make in calisthenics.